Hi, welcome to the channel. So I had fun making this video. I finished the restoration of my Telefunken and got it back in the cabinet and found that it had a hum that needed to be gotten rid of. I did get rid of the hum. I hope you enjoy the video. It was an education for me, and perhaps somebody is able to use this as a blueprint for getting rid of a hum in their vintage radio. Thanks again.
Okay, let's get to work and track down this hum. So what are we looking for? We are looking for an audible alternating current signal, something in the audible range. And where are we going to look? Well, often the filter capacitors, especially if they're old, will give you a hum. The rectifier can do it, especially the old selenium rectifiers. You can also get a hum from the tubes if there's a cathode to heater short, because there's 6.3 volts AC going into the tubes. It could come from the wires. It could be from outside radio frequency. And is there something else? Well, we'll see. We'll track it down. So here we have the partial schematic of this Telefunken. And you can see in the bottom, the box, the square is, the red square is the rectifier. And the filter capacitors are to the right of the square. They're 50 microfarads each. Now, in this radio, I removed the selenium rectifier and replaced it with a silicone rectifier. I also restuffed the filter cap can, and you can see the can right there. It's stuffed with two 47 microfarad capacitors. To the left of that is the rectifier, which I disconnected. In this radio, I decided to use a silicone rectifier designed by Electronics Old and New. This rectifier combines the silicone diodes. You can see them there. There are 4 of them. And it uses a MOSFET and a variable resistor, which allows you to adjust the voltage. Typically in these radios, when you put in a silicone rectifier, the voltage increases because the silicone rectifiers don't drop the voltage like the seleniums do. This works fine, and I've been happy with using it. I'll leave a link in the description to Electronics Old and New regarding this rectifier. So here I decided to check out the rectifier and filter caps. So my Siglent scope is attached to ground, and the positive is attached to the first capacitor, and it appears to be doing its job. It's a full wave rectifier, so the frequency you can see at the upper right hand corner is 120 hertz. Here I moved on to the second filter cap, and this is my AC ripple. It's riding with the 260 volt DC voltage. It measures about 800 millivolts peak to peak, which gives it an RMS of about 0.6 volts, which is very small compared to 260 volts DC. I then went on to check the tubes, and at least in my tube checker, the tubes were fine. There were no catheter to filament shorts. I also checked the wires, moved things around, and the hum didn't change. Okay, now it was time to try to find out what the hum was made of. So I used my iPhone and I used an app that I have, and it says that it's 60 hertz. So then I took out the scope and I put the scope on the speaker terminals, and you could see it might be 60 hertz from peak to peak at the top. It's reading 105 hertz, but that's not correct. From peak to peak it is 60, but it certainly doesn't look like a sine wave. So then I decided to use the fast Fourier Transform on the SIG-length scope. I love this oscilloscope. And basically, in real time, it takes the amplitude time trace on the top and changes it to a frequency spectrum analyzer picture on the bottom. And here you can see that wave is made up of 60 hertz, 120 hertz, and to my surprise, 180 hertz. So I know where the 60 hertz is coming from, even the 120 hertz, but 180 hertz didn't make sense. So here I decided to sniff around a little bit. At the end of my oscilloscope probe is a coil, and you can see on the scope that I'm getting a funny looking wave, and below that the fast Fourier transform shows two, possibly three specific frequencies. So here is a close-up of what I'm getting from that coil near the transformer. And the fast Fourier transform reveals a frequency of 60, which we understand. There is no significant 120, but there's a significant 180 hertz. And if you go further to the right, the next hump is 300 hertz. So here I had to do some research. And as it turns out, the transformers that were built back in 1960s, they have an iron core magnetic center. And that iron core is supposed to be linear, meaning that when the AC 60 hertz signal comes in, it needs to produce a magnetic flux that is linear with the AC signal, meaning that when the amplitude of the AC signal goes up, the magnetic flux also goes up. Well, this is not totally the case for several reasons. One is the iron core is 65 years old. Two, it was designed to handle 115 volts, but today we have in our mains here in the USA about 124, 125 volts. So what's happening is that the magnetic flux comes back and creates a wave that is not a perfect sine wave. It clips the top of the wave and the bottom of the wave. And here you can see that a perfect sine wave, number one on the left, if that does exist, creates a spectrum of only the signal. So 60 hertz sine wave, perfect, will give you 60 hertz. If you use a square wave, number two, a square wave has multiple harmonics, and you can see in the picture it's got the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth harmonic and all the way out. But now, number three, if you take a 60 hertz symmetrical sine wave and you clip it, and that's what's happening, because the magnetic flux is not linear in the old iron core transformer, you only get odd harmonics, meaning that you get 60 hertz, you get 180 hertz, and 300 hertz, and so on. And each one of those harmonics is, the amplitude is smaller and smaller. Now, if you go back to the scope, you can see that we have 60 hertz. The second harmonic is not there, 220. We have the third harmonic, which is 180. The fourth harmonic is not there. And all the way to the right is the fifth harmonic, 300 hertz. Okay then, now I've found the signals that are causing a problem. But how are they getting into the speaker? Well, here's a picture of the ECL86 tube. This is the only tube that comes after the volume pot. Now the volume pot is to the left in the middle, W6 1.3 mega ohms. And that's the audio cable that goes to pin 1 of the ECL86. You can see that there is a shield around that cable, and that shield is grounded at both ends. That shield is there for making sure no RFI radio frequency gets in. It's like a Faraday's cage, and it's usually only grounded at one end. This was grounded at two ends. The Telefunken technicians knew what they were doing, but I decided that I would try to disconnect the ground on the tube side, which I did, and what happened was I got loud oscillations. So I put that ground back. So both ends of the shield now are put to ground. I should note one extra point. That is, when you increase the volume pot, the hum did not increase in volume, suggesting that the hum was coming after the volume pot and not before the volume pot. And that's important because I think it focuses on this audio cable. We should note that any signal on that audio cable that goes from the pot to pin 1 of the ECL86 is going to be amplified many, many times. So even a small signal is going to get through the amplifier into the speaker. So I now know that the transformer is putting out a magnetic flux that is inducing odd harmonics, 180, 300. So how is that getting into the radio? Well, I think it's getting in through the audio cable, through the shield. Now here's a picture of the volume pot with the audio cable, and you can see that the audio cable has a shield on it. Now the only way that shield is going to have electricity induced in it by the flux is if the potential of both sides of that shield is different. And what I noticed was that the tube side was grounded very heavily to the chassis, but the volume pot side had a thin wire going from the volume pot to the chassis. It was a higher impedance connection than the tube side. And I think what I have is a ground loop. Because of the difference in potential and the way that they're grounded, that shield is soaking up the magnetic flux, and it doesn't have to be a lot because once it goes to the ECL86 it gets magnified, amplified, and it's creating the odd harmonics, especially the 180 hertz. So I thought perhaps if I could improve the ground at the volume pot, that I could get rid of the ground loop. So I decided, with the radio on, while monitoring the signal coming off the speaker cables, I would try to improve the ground. And I did that by using a metal probe, and I connected the main chassis to the shield of the audio cable at the volume pot. And I'm going to show you a video of what happened while I was doing that. Now, in this video, both sides of the shield are grounded. I had noted that I took the tube side shield off and I got lots of oscillations. I put the tube side shield back, so both sides are grounded in the video.
All right, I disconnected the tube side of the shield on the cable, and that just caused lots of oscillations. It obviously is there for a reason. And so now I'm looking at the waveform that is coming off the speaker terminals. And here's a fast Fourier transformation. And basically it's breaking it down into 60 hertz, 120 hertz, and 180 hertz, the third harmonic. Now, I don't know if you can hear, but there is a little buzz. I hear the buzz. That's the annoying buzz. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground the pot side of the shield on the cable that goes, that comes out of the pot and goes to the amplifier tube. It's already grounded, but it's grounded with a wire to the bottom of the board, and I suspect that the ground over the years is not as good as it used to be, because now if I double ground by doing that, the noise goes away, and you can see what happens. The 60 cycle pick up, but the harmonics are gone. So there's 60 and 120, 60 being the largest, and the 180 is gone. If I disconnect the ground, again, the pot is grounded, but I think the ground is bad. I'm just making it better. If I disconnect it, the noise comes back, and the 180 cycle, the 180 frequency comes up, and I think that's what's causing the noise. It's minus 21 dB, and I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to make that 180 go away. There we go. The 180 is away, and now there's basically just the 60, and maybe that's below what I could hear, so it's not a noise that bothers me. Okay, now I just need to make that extra grounding to the chassis permanent. All right, I think we did it.
So I wanted to do one more thing. How annoying is a 60 hertz signal versus how annoying is a 180 hertz signal? Because I was still getting 60 hertz from the speaker coils, and even 120, but the hum was gone. So I decided to look at how these different frequencies sound using a signal generator.
Okay, so let's use 200 millivolts peak to peak. It is going through an amplifier, but we'll keep it at 200. So first, let's listen to 60 hertz. Not too bad. Let's move that up to to 120. Okay, this is 120. It's a little more disturbing. And let's now go to 180. That is very annoying.
Okay, what are the takeaways from this video? Number one, radio restoration is fun and challenging. Number two, add transformer flux-induced hum to the usual causes of hum. And lastly, but very important, pay careful attention to grounding to avoid ground loops. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.